Hi, and thanks for joining me today. I've got the Tonic Craft Kit number 36. This one's called the Nordic Diamond Bauble Box. And what's really cool about it is that it creates these really super cute gift boxes. And I do have a separate construction video for how to put one of these together. And I'll link to that at the end of this video, because in this video I'll actually be flipping this craft kit where I make at least one flat, one layered, one interactive, and one pop-up card. And so before we go into that though, I do want to show, I don't think at the end of my construction video I showed you the final boxes. So let me go ahead and bring out all the boxes that I created, because I just wanted to show that even though this is a Christmas themed box kit, you could definitely use these dies to make gift boxes for any occasion, really. So this is the one that uses and features all of the various Verso design dies. So you do get all of the Christmas themed imagery, the bauble, Christmas tree, and deer, all of that lovely design, the sentiment joy. I did leave this one blank on the back. This one, it's candy striped, but imagine doing this design just in a different color, and that could easily be for a different occasion. But this just used some of the glitter that was included in the kit on some plain white cardstock. Here I made a birthday box, and this was using some of the Crafter's Companion Centura Pearl. I had just gotten this and wanted to give it a try. This is my first time using it. And for the die set here, I actually used a Spellbinders. It's one of their older dies of the month. So the large die of the month for that particular month made a flip card, and then the small die of the month was sort of a companion set of sentiments, circle sentiments. And so this one just says birthday wishes, and it did include a couple of dies for these little flowers and foliage. So and I did attach this such that I could still have access to the little hole at the top. So if I wanted to actually thread some ribbon or twine through there, I still could in order to close up the box. And this is a decent sized box because you could put some treats in it. You could put maybe probably fit a tie in there. And this one just used some of the washi tape that came in this month's kit. And I thought this might be a fun little Valentine's Day box, so I just used some 100-pound pink cardstock in a couple different shades and ran the washi tape just right around it and wrapped it around to the back. So you can see that even though the die set is themed to Christmas, you can create a variety of boxes. It's really just up to your imagination and whatever occasion that you actually need it for. So so that's what this particular kit was designed to create, but I'm going to actually create some cards with it. So without further ado, here are the cards. First up is going to be my flat card, and this card took way longer than it should have because I should have really just left all of those pieces on my card base without moving it and then just adhering it one by one, because by swiping them all off, I totally forgot placement and margins, and it took me forever to line everything back up. So originally I thought I was going to record this in real time, and that's why I'm kind of talking and pointing at this panel, but then I realized this is taking longer than I thought, and so I'm just going to do my normal sped up video and record a voiceover for it. But what I was pointing out was that for that panel, I took one of the 4 Verso dies and I cut into my black card the word love, and then I die cut that same sentiment again out of gold, and I took the pieces that drop out of it and the gold pieces that dropped out of it and inlaid that back into my black panel. And that kind of gives the look of gold behind the black, but it's all flush. It's all just one layer. So, so that still kind of adheres to my definition of a flat card, which is at most one layer of cardstock on top of your card base. And so here you see me nudging everything around. It's really a good thing that I didn't press down at all in some cases, but definitely not very hard, and I definitely didn't burnish. So I was able to move everything around without tearing up my card or anything. So so that worked out well. But this kit has some really, really lovely, gorgeous, very luxurious papers, because they're all in these very rich tones, the golds and the reds. The this little strip of red iridescent paper I was super, super excited to see in this kit, because when I put my purchase through for iridescent cardstock, I think a little earlier, a couple weeks back now, I was trying to get one pack of each of the different iridescent mirror card that Tonic creates, but this red and I think one other at the time was out of stock. So I'm really excited to have some in my stash to play with now, even if it is just the one sheet. But you can see I'm being a little bit precious with it, so I'm just using that thinnest of strips just to give it that little bit of an accent. But I think that was just enough red to make that card shine a little bit. With this one, what happened was this panel that I'm putting glue on now, that's actually how I lined up my dies to get my triangle panels for my previous card. And so when I saw this, I thought, oh, well, now I can just trim this off a little bit, and that could be a piece that I can use on a card. And so so I used that as well. And when I sat down to make these cards, I only really had 2 ideas in mind, and this wasn't one of them, but it just goes to show that, if you're stuck for ideas, all you need to do is just start somewhere, and hopefully that will get your creative juices going and more ideas will come, because I had been thinking about how to flip this kit ever since I saw the unboxing video that Tonic Studio releases, and I was actually a little bit worried that I wouldn't be able to do a proper flip of it, because I was a little stuck for ideas, and even until sitting down to start my card making, I only had 2, one of which I didn't even attempt. And so in the end, I got there, and so that was definitely a lesson learned for me. Sometimes you just can't, at least from just photos of, what's coming in the kit, you can't always know, how to use those components. And at least for me, it helps to have, the dies cut out to play with and see, and then especially since I don't like for anything to go to waste as I'm making cards, I often try to use the offcuts and the pieces that are left over, and so that sometimes helps to generate different ideas as well. So for this card, that main triangle panel, I did use the aqua marker, the blush rosette, and it's super pretty, that little shimmer shine that you get from it. And really easy to create that panel. You just kind of brush over it, and you can build up, the shimmer and the depth of color by just going over the cardstock multiple times to kind of build up that color. So really fun, and I think that's actually probably the first aqua shimmer marker that I have from Tonic Studios. So I'm really excited to have that now. And probably check out what else they have in that line. And I am using black foam just because of the black border, because I think white would have stuck out a little bit too much, so the black really looks fits in a little bit nicer. And I buy my foam in sheets, and I buy the type that actually has adhesive on one side, so it's really easy to use, and I prefer it to buying, pre-cut strips or pre-cut foam squares, just because of being able to use it in this way where you can die cut the full shape and get foam edge to edge. So for this card, this is the only one that I had an idea to try before sitting down to make my cards. And I just had the loose concept in mind to create a gatefold card using the shape that you get from the top of the box, because I thought that that was really a fun shape. And part of me thought that I could even use the circle, the hole that's punched out, as a closure for this, where I actually string a ribbon through it. But in the end, I didn't go that route, and instead I created these panels. And I used the oval tag to actually cover up those holes on the black panel there. And I have to credit my husband for helping me with the layout on these decorative panels, because I was trying a few things and it just didn't look right. And he kind of helped me give me some new ideas, and in the end, this was his idea for laying it out this way, so love it, and it definitely really makes this card. And those are just the triangle panels that, so this is another partial die cut of the decorative matte layer for the top of your box, and then the triangles are just panels that are just snipped, a little bit at the very top just so that they fit. And then here I used the oval tag, but again, I did a partial die cut from one end, the end that doesn't have the circle, the hole cut out for the tag. And then I flipped the die around and did a partial die cut from the other end. That way I get a full oval without any holes punched through it. And on that panel, the oval panel, I did tear my sentiment just a smidge because I was a little too aggressive with my gum eraser. It's kind of the downside of using a liquid adhesive. I actually should have used my dotted tape runner, but I used a little too much liquid adhesive and it oozed out, and I was trying to clean that up with my paper towel and my gum eraser, but I tore my sentiment just a smidge. So off camera, I did fix that by just die cutting another sentiment and layering it on top, so it's completely covered and you would never know that that it was torn. And in fact, it ended up looking better in the end too, just that little bit of extra depth. So here's where I tore it. See, you could see that went right there. So I did tack it on with a little bit of liquid glue just to get that little torn bit back in place. So you can see I'm kind of nudging it back in place here. But in the end, whatever mistakes you make, more often than not, you can cover it up or fix it in some way. So so you would never know to look at it that there was a torn sentiment there. And so here I'm just going to put that badge right in the center. And on the inside of the card is just some of that tan textured weave Craft Perfect card, which I think looks really nice. I didn't think that it would go with all of the really bright shiny papers in this craft kit, but it really does go nicely. And that was the thing that really surprised me, is just being able to combine the different textures and shades of gold and red, and I wouldn't have thought that they go well, but they really do. So for example, here I'm actually using a bit of uh, gold foil cardstock that's out of my stash, but because it's a little bit shinier. And on the tag that you can see there, I actually inlaid those shiny gold pieces back into a tag that was die cut from the more matte gold that comes in the kit. And it's really subtle, but it's a really nice effect because, when that more shiny mirror gold cardstock catches the light in certain ways, you can really see it, and then it's more subtle at other angles. So that just really keeps it really interesting. So this is my spinner card, and I do like to use a strong adhesive on both sides of where I tack down the invisible thread that I'm using, because you really do want that thread to be pulled kind of taut, because that makes the spinning mechanism last a little bit longer, because it loosens up a little bit the more you play with the spinner. So if you try to get it pretty taut and you get nice strong adhesive, well burnished to hold it in place, then it should last a good long time, even if you play with it a lot. And this is another really pretty cardstock that comes in the kit, the red pearlescent. And so I've got this panel here, and then the other side of the tag is actually a combination of this pearlescent card along with some more of that gold inlaid into it. And the tag itself actually uses both Verso patterns that come in the kit. And so you can see there, and it looks really nice both ways, whether you have the gold or the red version as the front. But of course, once you open it, that tag will spin. And this little black panel here is actually, I made 2 panels for my flat card just to see which one I liked better. And since I chose the other one and this was left over, I decided to add this panel to this card just to give a little bit more interest to this card so that it wasn't so plain at the bottom. And plus it needed a sentiment. So having that little love sentiment is just super sweet. And this is just a little itty bitty strip of, again, my shiny gold cardstock that came out of my stash. But that little accent stripe really just pulls everything together, I think. And sometimes instead of using cardstock like this, I'll use my Love from Lizzie's pinstripe stickers, because those are really perfect for areas kind of similar to this, where you've got like 2 different cardstocks that are butting up against each other or overlapping. They just make for a really nice finished edge. And so this last card here is going to be my pop-up card, and you can see those scalloped circles are just offcuts from the aperture that I cut out on my previous card. And so that's what I mean, like as I craft, I kind of generate these offcuts, and so then once I have these extra little components, they become things that kind of spark new ideas for how to use them. And so here I'm kind of using this main triangle pattern almost as if it's a Christmas tree. It kind of looks like it could be, because there's like that star shape in the center there. And so I thought it was pretty cute, and I hadn't yet used any of the gold glitter cardstock, and so I thought it would be really striking against the black. I really love this combination of black, gold, and red. And so I think I have all 3 colors in all of my cards for this flip, because it just is such a nice combo. So at the bottom there, I just have a simple little hinge, and that's what's going to attach to my card base. And by the time I got to this card, I realized I hadn't used the stamp set at all. And so I did manage to get a little bit of stamping into this card. So here on this little panel, I just stamped out Merry Little Christmas and gold embossed it. And I just used some gold embossing powder out of my stash. And then on the black panel, I used the two snowflake stamps and gold embossed those as well. And so I'm gonna put my panel on first before I get my pop-up mechanism, because while the card is nice and flat still, it makes it a lot easier to burnish and get these stuck down really nicely. And I was having a lot of problems with lining things up in this card making session. It was just one of those days. But once I have these elements on, and I do for my pop-up cards prefer to keep the outside of the card pretty simple, so that by the time you open the card, that's kind of where all the fun is, where all the exciting parts are. So here, this little tab, I'm just lining that up right up against the fold, but not crossing over. And the second panel here will be the back of my tree. And all I'm going to do is attach the two trees at the very tip. And so I'm just using a glue dot here that I'm cutting in half just so that it sort of has a more triangular shape. That way I can get the glue a little bit closer to the top of that point. And then once these are lined up and glued to each other, then I can put glue on this little tab and then fold my card closed. And that really just ensures that everything's lined up, your card's gonna fold down nicely and close nicely as well as open nicely. And so on my tree, the front says peace and the back says joy, which I thought was kind of cute. And because I had this leftover tag and circle die cut from the glitter cardstock, I just decided to add it. And here I did put that Verso design at a little tilt, because I thought that would be a little fun, a little different and interesting. And so I'm gonna go ahead and put that in the corner just as a added bonus little decorative element on the inside. But this is such a fun kit to work with. I really did think that I would struggle to create a flip using this die set, because it's really more suited for creating the gift box. But in the end, it actually wasn't very hard at all. The one thing that I now, having used the kit for card making, the one thing that I feel like I missed a little bit was I would have liked to have had a Nuvo drop in a red shade, because we had so much gold product. We had the glacier paste in gold, the glitter accent in gold, and the glitter drops were also in gold. And because I feel like red was my accent color for all of my cards, and I chose not to put any Nuvo drops on because there was already so much gold on my cards. And so I felt like what I really wanted was to add some red drops, and I actually don't even own any red Nuvo drops, so I couldn't find anything out of my stash to use. But I do kind of feel like the kit would have been a little bit more well-rounded if it did already include at least one kind of red Nuvo drop product instead of the gold. But other than that, this kit is so fantastic, because not only do you get a really beautiful, fun gift box, but true to form, the Tonic die sets, they really are just beautiful shapes and patterns. So you can use them for anything: cards, mini albums, scrapbooks. Super fun kit to work with. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. I hope that you enjoyed my cards, And until my next video, have a fantastic day and happy crafting. Thanks. Bye.